Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker, and I appreciate Ms. Lofgren and the ability to close. There's a saying sometimes, and it's, everything's been said, just not everybody said it. I think we've went sort of through that today. But some of the things that have been said today need to be brought out, and I think continue to be brought out. Maybe that we don't talk about it. It's not that if what we have found here is that today my colleagues clearly do not care, as we have seen, about rule of law. They don't even seem to care about the rules of the House today, and that they had to actually waive the PAYGO rules in order to bring this bill to the floor. The estimate on this was $35 billion. They've waived that. Just said, we don't care. We got a bill that's going nowhere, a bill that's not going to get signed, a bill so I guess to make our point, we're just going to waive that. But let's also talk a little bit about some other stuff that's in this bill that are not with DACA recipients or DACA or the DREAMer, however there is described today, that many of us would like to have seen, and I think was very telling when the majority leader came down here and brought up a bill which I acknowledge was very close to coming bipartisanly and passing last year, but didn't. If you wanted a bipartisan bill, that's where you would have started. That's where you would have started, and you would have had an opportunity to actually then put something with it with security and actually get something passed. But that was not what my friends across the aisle wanted. They wanted, it seems to be, is a political bill, a statement bill, something that will not get passed, but simply continue to use this population, it seemingly, in a way that furthers political goals and not a real solution. An interesting part of this bill, which has not been talked about as much because it has been mentioned, but it also needs to be recognized. We have a serious issue with this temporary protected status, TPS. There is no T anymore. T is not available in this. Temporary does not exist. When we talk about this, and it's supposed to be for those who are in dire need, and I agree with the concept of TPS that it should be there for those areas and times when we need to allow people to come in, and that should be a part. And it should be natural disasters, other things. But I want you to think for just a second, and this was actually brought out in rules last night by my colleague from California, which I respect highly about this. But understand that TPS was granted to El Salvador in March 2001, Haiti 2010, Honduras 1999. These were earthquakes, hurricanes, Nepal 2015, an earthquake, Hurricane Mitch in 1999 with Nicaragua. I mean, others are armed conflicts, which we can understand, but temporary after a hurricane, we're looking at 15, almost 20 years. And we're still dealing with this because all we did in this body and all the administrations did was simply kick the can down the road. I feel for those who came here in a temporary status but did not go home and then they got left. Yes, this became their home because we did not obey the law. Now, it's been a lot said also about, and it's been in no need to continue on it because there is the ability for criminal elements to get green cards. The discussion about having the Secretary of Homeland Security be able to take these up and an individual, a non-delegable authority to actually take these individual items up is a farce. They don't have that time or ability. It will never get that far because actually, amazingly, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary is a busy person. Both female or male, whoever serves under Republican or Democrat does not have time to do this. So the very narrow exemption will never get used. So yes, it does open that possibility up. But I think the interesting thing here is it was shown by some of the discussion in this debate was beyond the political rhetoric of a bill that is going nowhere and a bill that should and could find solutions. It goes back to the problem that we see right now that this is, frankly, another green light to those who want to come here seeking freedom from the place that they currently are, which I sympathize with. I understand. But either we have a way to get into our country legally or we don't. Either we have a way that you should come properly to our country or we don't. It's not an in-between item here. It's not saying that we want you to come, but yet at the same point, don't worry about our rules and laws. If you can come, as I said earlier in my statement today, they're borrowing, renting, and begging for children to walk across the border because they know that once they do, they're free. Within 48 to 72 hours, they can get to an NGO and be on a plane somewhere, even when we have found over 3,000 cases of fraudulent unaccompanied minors in family units. But we don't address that here. In other words, we don't talk about what is happening in combination with this, which many of us could have actually got on board with. We simply put another green light, Mr. Speaker, on the fact that we're not helping. If either side, both Republicans or Democrats, could look at a Border Patrol agent or an ICE agent or one who works in our Immigration and Port Authority and actually look at them and tell them, while they're doing their job, upholding the law, which is all they can do, that is not their job to make laws, that is this body's job to make laws, or to help them or to send them aid, then how can we look them in the eye when they're staying 15 and 20 hours away from their family each day, when their own families are falling apart because we're overcrowding our Border Patrol offices because they can't hide them? How do we explain to those who come here properly on asylum from Cuba and other places where they have been told, as one told me, looking at me and said, if I was to go back to Cuba, they would disappear me? How can we sit there and look at them while they're held for 60 and 90 days or longer, while unaccompanied family members and unaccompanied minors and family units are being passed over within 24 to 48 hours, while they're sitting there legitimately trying to get in this country through an honest asylum claim? But we sit them there to the side. We don't want to discuss them. We want to make a political statement today. So this will be a partisan vote. There'll be some bipartisan, there may be some that vote for it, and that is okay. But at the end of the day, we're not getting what we asked for. We're not getting what we wanted. If we did, we probably would have took the bill from last Congress that did have bipartisan support that the majority leader spoke of. But that's not what we did. Until we get serious about this issue, until we get serious about wanting to fix this, and not simply use debate time to bash the administration or the president and to find solutions here, then we will continue down this path. And you can celebrate if you pass this, which you will. The majority has the numbers. But how hollow a celebration is something when you look and say this will not do anything because this will not become law. The powerful symbol spoken of by one of my colleagues earlier is this. The powerful symbol is not that you can pass a bill on the floor that has nothing of support from either side or actually has a hope of becoming law or giving false hope to anyone who's watching today. What it actually has the ability to do is that why would we do this if we're not dealing with the issues that we have as we go forward? Why would we take the flaws in this bill, bringing it to the floor in a closed rule? Why? Because I believe the majority didn't want to have to deal with the honest problems in this bill with amendments, so they closed the rule. Didn't want that to happen. But as this is our time, this is our place, I would urge a no vote on this bill, and I yield.